Hi there. So like I've stated in my previous video, I'm going to be talking about compositional layouts. So the first compositional layout I want to talk about is the one-frame compositional layouts. Okay, so the first one you get is a square. The second is rectangular, which can either be landscape or portrait, depending on landscape is if the rectangle is horizontal and portrait is when the rectangle is vertical. You get elongated. You can also get the landscape and portrait format, and the same applies to elongated with the landscape being horizontal and the portrait being vertical. And the next one you get is oval. You get circular, miniature, and huge. So I'm going to be talking about the second thing, which is the placement in compositional layouts. You get central frontal, cut-off objects, overlapping, horizon line, middle ground, and off-center. I'm going to be showing you examples of these placement in compositional layouts. So as you can see in the first image, the model is placed in the center around a central axis of a symmetrical balance, which means that she is placed in the center frontal. Second is cut off objects. As you can see, what's cut off is the girl's arm and the chair, and then on the other side is the same as well. So this is what it means by cut off objects. Okay, so the third one we're going to talk about is overlapping. Overlapping, clearly you can see the girl in the front and the guy behind her. So with overlapping, it gives you an illusion of depth in the composition layout. So if you draw it in a certain way, if you draw overlapping in your composition, you get that three-dimensional effect of creating perspective in your drawing. Okay, so the next one we're talking about is the horizon line. As you can see, it's a rectangular format, and you see the line in the middle, or usually you see it when you see a sunset with the line of the sea. You can clearly see it with the sun, and that line is what you call the horizon line. So here, obviously the horizon line is the grass in the background. It's dividing the rectangle into two spaces, like top to bottom. Okay. The next one we're going to be talking about is middle ground, where you place a certain thing in the middle of the composition. So unlike central frontal, she's laying backwards, and this is why it's called middle ground, because she's laying to the back, and obviously this creates more depth and perspective, and so you've placed her in the middle. So if it's central frontal, it's like right in front of you. So there is a difference between the middle ground and then the central frontal. Then the next one you get is off center. So right about here, if you make an exact line where it crosses, here is your central axis point. Central axis point is the middle. So you can see that the grandma is laying, or the lady, let me rather say that, is laying like off center. So she's laying on the side. She can either be placed on the right or on the left hand side, but you can clearly see it's off center. And with off center placement, you create a asymmetrical balance, because there's only one figure that is placed on one side, and so it's obviously not balanced, because there's a lot of negative space, so it's not balanced. So that's also why it's called asymmetrical balance, because it's not equal at the central axis point. Okay, so the third thing I'm going to be talking about is multiple frames, compositional layouts. So I spoke before about the one frame, which is just a square, rectangle, and just a different type of shapes for one frame compositional layouts. This is multiple frames. So usually what people do, they usually use rectangles for this, or they use squares. It's uncommon to see circles, and yeah, so it's most of the time I usually squares or rectangles that's being used in order for multiple frames. So if you have two frames together, it's called diptych. As you can see, the D indicates like the two frames. Okay, if you have three frames together, as the T is indicated on here, three frames is called a triptych. Okay, as you can see here, yes, cues in these 4 blocks, and usually these 4 frames is called quadruptych. So you can place it either you can either place it like this, or you can place it like next to each other. Just imagine there's another T there, and then it will be a quadruptych. So it can be placed next to each other or underneath each other. It all depends on how you want to create your artwork. Okay, so the 5 frames is the pentaptych, 6 frames is hexaptych, 7 frames is heptatich, 8 frames is octaptych, 9 frames is ineptych, sorry, the pronunciation is a bit off, and then 10 frames is decaptych. So yeah, this is basically what compositional layouts is about. So like I said in my previous video, when I had a shout out for Query Art, I'm going to discuss how to analyze a painting, and then I also have an idea of doing, starting to do design terminology, like elements of design, and just salt principles and so forth. So look out for these videos in 2020. I'm going to be doing more tutorials, and thank you guys for watching. I see you guys are liking the videos, and there's been quite a lot of views recently on my latest video, which I'm very thrilled about. So I hope you learned something, and stay tuned, check out on social media, and thanks for listening. Goodbye.